back to coverage of Grand Prix Richmond. Maria Bartholdi here in the booth alongside Jacob Van Lunen, Christopher Larson versus Ben Freedman. We just saw both of these players draft, currently both sitting at 11-1. Christopher Larson going to kick things off with a Dune Beetle. He drafted a couple of these, which were one of a very few number of 2-drops he had in his draft.
Yeah, neither of these players were able to pick up as many 2-drops as they would have liked. Both of them, the 2-drops they do have are kind of like higher toughness, lower power kind of creatures. So we can expect to see longer games against these two, which should be nice. The cool thing about longer games in this matchup is you might see Ben Freedman get to do crazy things with 2 copies of Anointed Procession. Unfortunately for him, Christopher Larson has Angel of Sanctions and Archfiend of Ifnir.
Yep. Yeah. All right, so that attack from the Dune Beetle plus a cartouche that's going to put a -1/-1 counter deals swiftly with Ben Freedman's True Heart Duelist. So we'll see what he can come up with here on his 3rd turn. Yeah, Christopher Larson lovingly petting that Archfiend.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's his favorite pet. I guess.
All right, here Ben is going to cycle Wander in Death to draw a card, plays a land, and has to just say go. There's the demon in question.
So I think it is a geographic feature and not a sword.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Pretty sure.
Dune Beetle getting in there for 2. Get in there, buddy.
Yeah, a 2/5 lifelink is pretty sweet. It's a lot sweeter than a 1/4 without it.
Amen.
It's got a belly full of zombies.
Can you believe Christopher got that 3rd pick?
Yeah, that's just absurd. I mean, you open that pack too. Like, don't you think about switching one of your colors if you've only got like a couple picks? Like, they must have the 2 people before must have had really evenly split strategies before that.
Ben Freedman's going to play a Soul Stinger here, 4/5 with 2 -1/-1 counters. When it dies, gives those counters away.
It's a Scorpion Demon.
End of turn, Christopher Larson plays the first half of Start to Finish, making 2 warrior creature tokens. And smashing in again with that Beetle for 2.
Yeah, Start Finish is a really powerful card. You know, definitely one of the premier uncommons in the set.
Plays his own
works well
Soul
with a lot of
Stinger.
the other commons and uncommons in the set.
You know what's interesting, too? Since it has Aftermath, it's kind of like the first half of the card shows you how it wants the second half of the card to be played.
Yeah.
Sacrifice one of your warrior creatures to destroy target creature, and a lot of the Aftermath cards kind of play out in a similar manner, which I think is pretty interesting design-wise. There you see Ben Freedman playing one of his Cradle of the Accursed. He did put both of them that we saw him draft into his main deck here.
How many lands did he end up playing? 17?
17.
With the 2 Cradles? Yeah. Those Cradles actually exist in Ifnir, where the Archfiend lives.
Oh.
Yeah.
Look at you reading that flavor text.
Yeah. Getting into it this weekend.
I do love the flavor of Amonkhet.
Yeah, I've always been into, you know, ancient Egypt, mummies. I got to see King Tut when I was a little kid. It was pretty exciting.
There's another cartouche of ambition. Distributing a -1/-1 counter.
Now, these 2 decks, the power differential is just so huge, even though the cards we're seeing on the table are so similar. As we start getting into later turns of the game, you know, Ben Freedman has this like weird token plan where Christopher Larson has very powerful bomb rares in the form of Angel of Sanctions and Archfiend of Ifnir. So I think those are probably 2 of the best 3 cards you would have in the set. Glorybringer is probably the only other card in the same realm of power level.
And there we see Ben Freedman's Soul Stinger go down. And in comes a Takrop Elite.
Takrop Elite, one of the better commons in the set. Really good card that has been undervalued. I guess not one of the better commons, but one of the commons that you would not expect to be as good as it actually is.
Here we see Trial of Ambition from Ben Freedman, and it's always questionable, you know, how good this card is going to be, but you said, JVL, that you really like this card, and
yeah,
look here, we see it, like both those creatures are good targets for it.
Yeah, and it's not as good as it might have been in some other sets because of Embalm and because of token creation, but you know, especially in aggressive decks where your opponent is often, you know, playing creatures with the intention of blocking and like only having one thing on the board, Trial of Emission's really good, especially when you draw it in your opening hand. And, you know, when you have multiple cartouches, it just gets very, very strong.
So we have a True Heart Duelist embalmed by Ben Freedman. Talkrop Elite crashes in for 2 damage, followed up by an Anointer Priest and a Cursed Minotaur with Menace. I am just waiting for Ben Freedman to drop one of these Anointed Processions.
Same. I'm just like...
Please.
With bated breath.
One time, Freedman. Not yet. We have a Miasmic Mummy here, which is going to take the last card out of Christopher Larson's hand.
Oh, wow. And that was a good one, too. It was Wander in Death.
Wander in Death.
It's a really nice last card to have.
There we see the power of Miasmic Mummy, making somebody discard the final card they've been holding. And now he's out of cards. Ben Freedman, 2 copies of Cradle the Accursed, currently in play. Can become 2/2 mummies. Or zombies, rather.
Yeah, and, you know, with Anointed Procession, those cradles create 2 zombies. When you have 2 Anointed Processions, each of those cradles makes 4 zombies.
That's insane.
Imagine just sacrificing your land and getting 4 zombies. I'm just thinking about it.
I'm just like looking at you. You've got a faraway look in your eyes like, what a dream.
Oh, man.
And imagine if you had that and also your Lord of the Accursed out. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And he has 2 Lord of the Accursed, so it's not something that couldn't happen.
Yeah. Hypothetically, Ben Freedman could sacrifice a Cradle of the Accursed and create 16 points of power.
All right, we have an embalmed Anointer and a festering mummy here for Christopher Larson after an exerted attack by that Talkrop Elite. And here we go. Here we go. 1 Anointed Procession, 1 Cradle of the Accursed crack, 2 zombies entered the playing field. Here's a look at Anointed Procession and why it's so good when you have 2.
Yeah, twice of twice is 4 times. So, I mean, pretty exciting stuff. So far, we've already seen it be quite powerful in that it was 4 mana to create an additional 2/2.
Would you play Cradle of the Accursed if it made 2/2 zombies when you sacrificed it?
Absolutely.
All the time?
Yeah, all day, every day. It would be like a very powerful constructed card. If I had to spend 4 mana before that and lose a card from my hand, I don't think so. But the fact that he has other token production in his deck, including, you know, just the embalmed creatures that he has, I think Anointed Procession is definitely a good card in Ben's deck.
All right, he's going to cash in the second Cradle here to make 2 more zombies.
And 4 mana for a pair of 2/2s is actually quite good, especially when you have 2 copies of Lord of the Accursed in your deck.
So he's just made 8 power and toughness there from sacrificing 2 lands he didn't even want anymore.
Yeah.
And we see that Chris is at 25 life, Ben at 12, but right now it looks like Ben has a little bit of advantage on creatures.
Yeah, Ben's definitely got the onboard advantage right now. He's, you know, he's got 10 power on the table. The major issue, though, for him is that Christopher has this flyer and that Ben's life total is kind of dwindling. Ben, you know, doesn't really want to trade off any of these zombies at this moment, maybe because of what's in his hand. I'm going to have some way to make them better.
All right, so there's an Exerted Talkrop Elite coming in and a Cursed Minotaur that's going to be blocked by a Miasmic Mummy and one of the zombie creature tokens. And Chris is just going to pass the turn back. Yeah, if Ben Freedman, for instance, was holding one of his 2 copies of Lord of the Accursed, that would certainly change things.
Yeah, and
there it is. Sure enough, in come 3 2/2 zombies, which are now 3/3 zombies.
Yeah, and Ben can actually tap that Lord of the Accursed to make them all have menace. And if he gets in a couple cracks right now, you know, like 2 hits for 9, then suddenly that becomes dangerously lethal.
Christopher down to 15.
Yeah, so Christopher going to shrink one of these zombies down to a 1/1 and kill the Lord of the Accursed using finish from start finish.
Yeah, he had to do that. That was going to be really sick beats if he let that Lord of Accursed survive. There's a look at start to finish. The black-white split card, which Chris has 2 of in his deck.
Yeah, one of the better ones as far as the split cards go for different colors. I think it's actually the best of the enemy color split cards. Destined to Lead is also quite strong, but I think start finish is about as good as it gets in that department.
In come 2 zombies and a compulsory rest on the Takarap Elite. So it cannot attack or block. It may be sacrificed for 2 life if you pay 2 mana. We've seen a ton of this card this weekend because it's one of the cheapest answers to basically anything in the set.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It's a pacifism effect in a format where there's not much removal. And the other thing that's nice is that people are often cartouching their creatures, making their creatures like big life linkers, things like that.
Here's a catch of the true after Christopher just had to pass the turn back. There she is. God. 3/6 makes a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance, but in Ben's case, she makes 2.
And paying 4 mana for 2 tokens just at a whim. Like, if Ben draws another land now, he can just be making 4 tokens a turn without spending a card for the remainder of the game.
Yeah, Chris Larson has fallen dangerously behind in this game. This is a way to get back in it, is using things like Cartouche of Ambition to gain some life, but he still has no good attack and just has to pass back. And there's that other land.
Yeah.
Here he goes. 2 warriors. Oketra, by the way, also now live.
Yeah.
Double strike indestructible, so she comes in for 6. It doesn't feel great to be attacked by a 6/6 indestructible.
Oh, not at all. And here we saw Ben's deck did not look on paper like it could stand up to Christopher Larson's. Christopher Larson, of course, did not draw Angel of Sanctions or Archfiend Defender, his 2 most powerful cards.
Look at that face right there is like, where were they?
Yeah.
Ben Freedman going to take down that first game there against Christopher Larson. That was pretty cool, at least to see Ben's deck partially in action with one of his 2 anointed processions.
Yeah, it was exciting to watch.
All right, we'll be back with more of this match after a brief message. of Grand Prix Richmond, Maria Bartholdi in the booth alongside Jacob Van Lunen. A look there at Christopher Larson and Ben Freedman, who we just saw play game one of their match. We're going to take a look in here at Brad Carpenter versus Justin Cohen. Brad Carpenter 11-1, Justin 1-1. Brad still up there on life on 21, Justin at 14. We've got a pair of life-linking cats on the board for Brad Carpenter, a fan bear and a gust walker.
Ooh,
but here we
Good.
go. A cycled Stir the Sands for Justin Cohen creates a 2/2 zombie and nets him a card.
Yeah, he's forcing Brad here to use the fan bear. Otherwise he'd just be able to eat one of those cats. Like Alf.
Justin Cohen, I rode in an Uber from the airport with him, with his teammate Sam Black, and they had a big bag of cards and just boxes and boxes of cards, and we had to fill the trunk up, and our trunk got too full, and our driver could not open the trunk when we got to our destination. It was like there was absolutely no way. So Justin was Googling, trying to figure out what can we do. Finally realized that there was a keyhole on the trunk, and you could just use a key to pop it instead of just the electronic mechanism. There was a comedy of errors for a while there. I was like, oh, my luggage is gone forever.
It's the weekend before a Pro Tour, so a lot of the players that are coming here are going straight to Nashville afterward. And as a result, they don't know what constructed deck they're playing next weekend yet. So they got to bring all of their cards so that they can make sure they're going to have the cards to build what they need.
Brad Carpenter able to secure an Emberhorn Minotaur there and exert his Gust Walker. Meanwhile, Justin has added a Horror of the Broken Lands to the battlefield.
That's a card that's really impressed me, especially alongside Cartouche of Ambition. You can cycle a few cards and get back into any sort of bad racing situation.
And here it comes in, 4/4. Is threatened. It's always threatening to be a 6/5. All right, and there is a Bitterblade Warrior. Let's head back to our first match, though, between Christopher Larson and Ben Freedman. We'll see if Chris can find any of his mega bombs this game.
Yeah, fight his way back into this game. Did Christopher choose to draw first? Seems as if he did.
Interesting.
Attention Magic players, this is a reminder.
In comes the Anointed Priest for a point of damage.
He may have just mulliganed and then missed the second line drop too.
Your promos are available.
He has his own Cradle of the Accursed.
No, he's got a bunch of lands in play. No, he chose to draw first.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know why he might have made that decision?
Maybe he thinks this matchup's going to go longer. He, wants more chances to draw, one of his marquee spells.
Oof, I see an Oketra and an Anointed Procession there in Ben Freedman's hand.
Oh, nice. So if the game is going longer, then Ben's got to be thrilled about his chances with
absolutely.
those cards.
So Ben's got his two hallmark cards of his deck. There comes down the Anointed Procession, ready to make double tokens. Anointed Priest comes in for 1, followed up by a Baleful Amit. Anointed Priest does hold a -1/-1 counter pretty well.
Absolutely. And the thing is, once you put the -1/-1 counters on it, then you can just chump block with it and bring it back to play later on.
There you see the Baleful Amit 4/3 lifelinker.
And in a format that's about racing, this guy is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He also doesn't look much like a crocodile, though. Look at how he's shaped.
Well, he's not a crocodile. He's a crocodile plus a lion plus a hippo.
Oh.
That's
that makes
an
more
Amit.
sense to me.
Yeah. There's Oketra the True. I learned that from Marshall Sutcliffe himself
Oh,
the other day.
interesting. Huh. I always thought he was like a pig creature.
He does kind of have a pig look about him. Amit getting in there, 4 damage. And a Dune Beetle is a follow-up play. Ben Freedman on 14. Oketra cannot attack or block because he does not control 3 or more creatures.
Ben's looking to be in pretty good shape here, though. I mean, now he's going to be making 2 creatures a turn with that Oketra. All he has to do, really, is, add 1 more creature to the battlefield and have 4 mana up, and then suddenly that Oketra is turned on, and Christopher's going to have a really hard time ever attacking Ben.
I wonder if Chris has any kind of artifact or enchantment destruction that he can bring in potentially against this anointed procession. He doesn't know that Ben has 2, however.
I believe he does have a Forsake.
Forsake the Worldly?
Yeah. No, he does not.
Okay.
Okay. I thought he took one like second to last pick in the last pack, but he might have taken something else over it, and I just forgot. I guess he must have.
There is the Anointer Priest, and Cradle of the Accursed gets sacrificed to make 2 2/2 zombies.
Yeah, also going to net Ben a pair of life, thanks to that Anointer Priest.
Yes. Sequencing, important.
Absolutely.
Christopher Larson is going to make some warriors of his own, thanks to the top half of Start to Finish. Start to Finish, a very good card, but unfortunately cannot deal with Oketra the True.
You know, Oketra does have Indestructible. Christopher does have ways to deal with Oketra, for what it's worth. Angel of Sanctions
Yeah, that's true.
is in the best of those ways.
Here's a Festering Mummy. He's just got to be like, where are my cards?
Also, this is really exciting to watch. Like, Anointed Procession is not a card we're used to seeing in Limited.
No.
It's really hard to get enough token production to make that worthwhile. Ben, managed to make a deck that plays 2 copies of Anointed Procession. Then in addition to that, he's also got Oketra the True that, he can pay 4 mana and make tokens at a whim. So now he's just, generating this huge advantage over and over and over again while he has this indestructible creature that, Christopher Larson could just never get through because he doesn't have any sort of flyer.
Here's a Dune Beetle from Ben Freedman. I want to say the card in Chris's hand is a Seraph of the Second Sun, but I'm not sure.
I mean, that would make a lot of sense, given that he hasn't had an opportunity to play it yet with the amount of lands that he has. And he also did not use that Cradle of the Accursed. So one would assume that he has, something expensive.
And there we see 2 more warriors from Oketra building up her army. Indestructible blocks indestructible all day.
That's true.
Attention Magic players, this will
Oketra turns sideways, hits the red zone.
3:30 event registration.
Festering Mummy going to block, distribute its 1/1 counter onto a warrior, killing it.
And our final legacy challenge of the weekend.
And there is Seraph of the Second Sun.
To get in line for those 3:30 events.
Oketra confirmed to be a cat.
I can't believe we had to have... Oh, sorry, Seraph of the Suns. Can't believe we had to have that discussion yesterday, JVL.
I thought it was a dog. I mean, once you see the picture on Trial of Solidarity, it becomes much clearer that Oketra is, in fact, a cat. But I just refuse to believe.
We also had some trouble with Bantu, who is a crocodile.
As it turns out, Bantu is a crocodile. That's a very high type of clothing fixture behind the head. It's not ears.
It's not ears. Yeah, and this is interesting too, as we see Ben just solidly on the front foot here in this match with Christopher Larson, who, if anybody on the face value would say, "Oh, Chris had the better deck," right?
Yeah, when they were drafting, and you're watching Christopher Larson, and he's petting his third picks, and just overjoyed at the rate at which he's getting cards like Archfiend of Ifnir and Angel of Sanction.
Oh, here we go. Angel of Sanction swinging in for 5 points of lifelink.
Yeah, and I mean, Seraph of the Sun with a Cartouche of Ambition on it, that's like a really big game. Like even with Ben Freedman doing these absurd things, like if he gets 1 more land, he's going to start making 4 tokens a turn. That's not going to be good enough to raise a 5-power indestructible flyer. And Ben is just making guys on the ground. So even though he's gaining life, he's doing all this stuff, Christopher's going to be gaining life too. And, there's that exponential, boost of stuff that I guess Ben's gaining 4 a turn while Christopher's cracking him for 5 a turn, though. So it's...
Yeah, yeah. We can't forget that the Anointer Priest is gaining Ben quite a lot of life as well. I hope coverage has enough tokens down there.
Oh, yeah, they're bound to run out at some point or another.
Oh, my gosh. This is going to get flooded.
And Christopher, the other thing, though, is that if Christopher, has a cycler that he's slow rolling in his hand for, I don't think he'd slow roll
I think he's
in his
just got
hand,
some lands, yeah.
But if he does, he could draw an Archfiend and cycle and
just kill the whole side,
yeah,
Ben's side of the board.
Kill all of those warriors and put Ben on a very, very real clock.
Oh, that would be brutal. At what point here does Ben just say, all right, he's got to get a critical mass of tokens before he just starts swinging in, but all right, he's going to clean things up and just put some dice on.
Yeah.
That's not 55, by the way.
Yeah, it's 10. Although we could get to 55 this game.
Yeah, we could. We certainly could. Oh, compulsory rest.
Yeah, that's very, very
there
good
we
here.
Go. That angel cannot attack or block. That was critical for Ben to be able to deal with that lifelinker.
Yeah.
All right, I think Christopher drew a Wander in Death.
Yeah, and Wandering Death's pretty good, if only because he can sacrifice the Seraphim's Son. But he's going to go fishing. He wants to find one of his real cards. He needs something like Angel of Sanction. He needs something like Archfiend of Ifnir if he's going to get back into this game.
He found a Ruthless Sniper who very slowly would pick off those warriors. But
yeah, it's not going to be picking them off at the rate they're coming into play.
40-card Freedman might just be a real name for how many creatures Ben Freedman has on the battlefield at the end of this game.
Yeah. He could easily have 40. He might end up waiting till he has critical mass to attack for lethal, and he's going to need way more than 40 because Christopher Larson's all the way at 42.
42 life.
Yeah, and Ben has gained well over 20 life this game also. Like, both these players have dealt significant damage to the other, while both these players have also gained tons and tons of life. This is about the grindiest game we're going to see. But at this point in the game, it's really, really hard for Ben to lose, because not only is he just producing this incremental advantage over time, but he's also, because of the Anointer Priest,
just gaining so much life.
Tons and tons in life off of it. And if, by chance, Christopher Larson is able to break this up or clear the board or do something of the like, then Ben could return the Anointer Priest back to play with Embalm, get 2 Anointer Priests, and then he's gaining double life off all this token production.
Wow. Christopher Larson is going to throw his own Anointer Priest in front of Oketra the True there, who was the lone creature attacking. And is going to Embalm it. Wow. What if Ben dropped his second Anointed Procession?
Yeah,
This is already
it's
insane.
going to happen eventually,
Look at
right?
Although if Christopher draws Angel of Sanctions,
Main event player Ben Anderson, please report
captures
to the main
Oketra.
event stage.
There you have a look at Angel of Sanctions, 3/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. And it has Embalm. No big deal.
Yeah, the Embalm really just pushes that card over the edge, right?
Right. It's already
Well,
fantastic.
It's already just completely unbelievable. And then...
And here Ben Freedman goes. In come the tokens.
Yeah, so Christopher Larson obviously just going to block as much as he can, but he's still taking, a huge chunk of damage, and then...
Ben Freedman can't wait forever,
Yeah.
to start attacking with all of these tokens. I don't want to wait. Sorry, I just put that song in everybody's head.
Yeah. For Chris Larson to draw an angel.
Yeah. Yeah, they are warriors with vigilance. That's true.
Christopher Larson is probably pretty disappointed. His deck is quite good.
Yeah, it is.
It's a little lacking in 2 drops, but You know, if he's playing a slower game, he certainly expects that his more powerful cards would put him ahead. But in a slower game, Ben Freedman's deck is really, really well set up.
Oh, he's just going to show him off and scoop up, and there he goes. He says, I never drew these two.
Yeah,
Where were they? Oh, and there's my Liliana's Mastery. No big deal. Extends a hand. Ben Freedman taking down that match.
Ben Freedman going to show him all the stuff in his deck. Yeah, 40
Ben's
card
like, guess
Freedman.
what?
Building a masterpiece out of, the sculpture made of garbage, if you will. It just, just this beautiful thing built out of gross things. And able to defeat Christopher Larson, who has these very powerful rares.
Hey, look, sometimes in a draft, you've got to do what you've got to do. And he was like, how do I salvage this? I know. I can make a double Anointed Procession deck.
Yeah.
Here we're going to take a look in, again, Brad Carpenter versus Justin Cohen. They've got it all tied up, 1-1. Justin on 16 life, Brad on 17. Justin going to get in there, it looks like, with this Cursed Minotaur. Brad says, sure.
Once again,
drops to 14.
Is going up at the red gathering point,
and
Legacy going up at the black gathering point flag.
Ooh, an
Edifice of Authority for Justin Cohen.
Edifice of Authority is another card that's really impressed me quite a bit. In controlling decks where you're trying to buy yourself time, it's quite good. And even in the more aggressive decks, when you're playing against mid-rangey and control decks, or especially green decks, it's really good at getting things like Colossopede or your opponent's like 6 and 7 drops off, offline when you need to start attacking through and getting through for those last points of damage in the late game.
There we see Brad has enchanted. What is that called?
Flameblade Adept.
Flameblade Adept with his Cartouche of Solidarity. You can see he's playing a red-white. Very aggressive deck from the looks of it versus Justin Cohen's green-black deck, which usually relies on -1/-1 counter synergy.
Yeah, the Flameblade Adept is a card that, to me, imagine how good that thing would have been with Smuggler's Copter if it was still legal at Standard.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a strong preference for red-white in this format, I found.
Yeah, those are definitely the colors that are least open when you draft the set. They're also quite deep, though. I think green has a lot of depth also.
Yes.
Blue and black are definitely the shallowest of colors and are really starved for playable 2-drops. So it makes it really easy to end up in green, white, and or red. Whereas black or blue, you kind of have to put your own foot in the water. It doesn't, the water doesn't grab you and pull you in.
There's a Bloodlust Insider from Brad Carpenter, another card which I've heard called severely underrated currently in draft because of the preference people have for these aggressive red decks. It allows for some just insane turns where you would haste out, for instance, a Desert Ceradon or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say very positive things about that card. I'm not buying it yet, but but I have friends whose opinions I respect who have told me that, the Insider is a playable card that makes the cut a good portion of the time in their deck.
It does what you want to do in a red deck. It's, an early 1-drop, and it can be good late with any creature that you want to come smashing in the turn it hits the battlefield.
That's I suppose. I don't.
I'm going to convince you, JVM.
Yeah. Maybe. I've tried it still. I'll try it more. I'm just.
All right.
I just haven't had success with it yet.
Justin Cohen once again deciding to attack with the Cursed Minotaur for 3. Does have menace, so it needs to be blocked by 2 creatures. Brad's going to choose to block that warrior there and the Bloodlust Insider. Justin debating if he should use this trick. I see a Supernatural Stamina pulled to the front of his hand there.
Supernatural Stamina has a lot of really cool interactions in this set. The fact that it returns the creature back to play when it dies means that you get enter the battlefield triggers. It means that exert creatures are no longer exerted. There's just a lot going on with that card that's not just part of the face value of it.
And there you see it did a good job of making Brad lose 2 creatures in that combat. A lot of people are big fans of 1-mana combat tricks that save your creature.
Yeah,
Oh, he's got another one. And a stinging shot, it looks like there. But he's going to just cash in his Cradle of the Accursed for a zombie and pass. Do you main deck Stinging Shot in Draft?
Sometimes you have to. And I think it's a very playable card. I don't want it in my deck when my opponent is not playing blue, white, or black. Like if they're green, red, I definitely don't want it. And it's not the best thing to be in my deck if my opponent's not specifically blue. Though when you're playing against white, you oftentimes get to snipe off a Gustwalker.
Sure.
So.
In comes the Red Crop Spearmaster Exerted, so it is a 4/1 first striker. Nothing, Justin has nothing to profitably block that. And the Flame Blade Adept. Here's Aketra's Attendant, 3/3 flyer for 5.
Yeah, and that's just a great uncommon.
Super solid, has cycling, has embalm.
Yeah, produces card advantage, you know, all these things.
And there we see the power of Justin's Stinging Shot he has, which will take down that Aketra's Attendant if he chooses to play it. However, as you mentioned, the Embalm, it'll just come back. Which is really weird if you think about it, that a cat has a bird attending it. That's a very powerful cat.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about it from that point of view.
And here, Justin does, in fact, use his Stinging Shot to put 3 -1/-1 counters on Aketra's Attendant.
Yeah, and even though that's like mildly card disadvantageous because the Aketra's Attendant can come back, the fact that both these players still have cards in their hand, Justin's pretty happy trading 1 mana worth of operative power for 5 mana from Brad Carpenter.
Zombie gets in there for the attack, a couple of them. And then here we have a Hooded Brawler coming down for Justin Cohen, which hits pretty hard in its own regard.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with that card. Sometimes it goes really late. I find that green is a bit underdrafted, especially considering how deep it is. And I've had decks with as many as 5 Hooded Brawlers and just crush people.
If you exert that card, it's a 5/4 attacker.
Yeah, no, it's a fine top deck in the late game as a 3-drop. So it's just really, really good. It's also backbreaking when you're able to get one of the really good 2-drops, offensive 2-drops, into a Hooded Brawler.
Here, Justin using his Edifice of Authority. Second brick counter on it to say something cannot attack this turn.
And he's keeping that Devoted Cropmate from creating any sort of card advantage for Brad Carpenter and has been doing so for a little while now.
Aketra's Attendant will come back embalmed. So Justin will be forced to deal with it again, as he is at 8 life. Or he'll have to just keep using the Edifice of Authority, which now has 3 brick counters, on it, which will be able to essentially lock that card down.
I think Justin is if he does have a Destined to Lead in hand, I believe.
Okay.
And if that's the case, then he's 1 point off from lethal damage this turn.
Oh, yeah. So close. Looks like a Liliana's Mastery.
Oh, no, wait. I believe he can target the Destined to one of the creatures that isn't getting blocked. So yeah, I believe he has exactly lethal here if Brad does not have a card like Magma Spray in hand.
130 Legacy Challenge players.
So let's see if he goes for it. I think it's probably wise to do so when at this stage of the game. It seems like Brad had a lot of opportunities to use a card like Magma Spray.
Sure.
And we get to see how good Destined to Lead is. Destined to Lead is especially strong in decks that have Death Touch creatures, because you can use it to just decimate your opponent's board with something like a Bitterblade Warrior. But even in situations like this, it's just good for killing people, because see, he's going to make that have 4 power.
There we go.
And then he's going to make everybody have to block the zombie. Or
I think he chose the Hooded Brawler.
oh, okay. See, I would have chosen the zombie, and then the Hooded Brawler would have 6 power, and the Cursed Minotaur would have 3 power, so that would be 9 damage, and everything would have to block the zombie. But
this way he kills more things.
This way he kills things, and I guess he's less susceptible to Magma Spray.
Yeah,
but
Brad does not, incidentally, have any Magma Sprays in his deck, which we know, but Justin does not.
Once again, 330 players, 330 standard challenge is posted.
All right, Hooded Brawler is going to take out a couple of Brad's creatures there.
Legacy challenge is posted at the black gathering point.
And it's still a really good turn there for Justin.
Absolutely, just playing it a little more careful. No, yet.
Yeah.
He
No,
will
that
survive.
lives. That lives. Don't worry. Oh, and there, an onward to victory. Good enough to finish the game there for Brad Carpenter.
Brad Carpenter takes the game.
Yeah.
And the match.
Brad, and onward to victory, just producing so much damage there by doubling the power of his creature.
Oh, wow.
And then also giving it double strike, able to just attack for huge damage and finishing Justin Cohen off.
Wow. Justin Cohen.
Amazing.
So close.
Yeah.
Oh. That's the last game in our feature match area here for this round.
Yeah, and there, you see the complexities of this limited format, and the problem is that that sometimes plays like that, when you're watching from a third-party perspective, it may be, oh, this is. I don't think that was obvious at all. Like it took us a minute to get there.
Yeah.
And also, you kind of have your own plan for how the game is going, and you're planning to decimate your opponent's board with that Destined to Lead. You're not necessarily planning to I have exact damage when my opponent's been, more aggressive for the entire game.
And it's so tempting as well to try and kill as many creatures as you can with a trick-like lead.
Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of trained to use them both on the same creature in a lot of ways in your head.
All right, we're going to take a brief break and then come back for some more magic here at Grand Prix Richmond.